Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the More Money Show comes in. If you're ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to this episode. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and I'm here with Jeanne Andrus, the Menopause Guru. Welcome back, Jeanne. How are you?
I am fantastic, Cassie. So good to see you.
You too. Of course, you can connect with Jeanne to help you tame the symptoms of menopause at menopause.guru. Let's start with this. What's awesome today?
What's awesome, I just get back from visiting with my son and my grandson and my daughter-in-law and seeing their new soon to be lived in house and playing with my grandson who turned 3. What could be more awesome than that? Other than I'm back in Louisiana again. I'm not there. Oh, well.
That's awesome. I love it. So I'm going to start with this question. Actually, I should start with my last question first. So you did the scripting workshop a few weeks ago. And so I'm curious, what was new? Like, what did you see in your future self? How is it different than the times you've taken it before?
I am so much more her, so much the time that it almost felt like what would be, it felt more continuous. If that's makes sense, it felt more, I wasn't stretching to be her and to answer as her and to be in that space all the time. And it could have easily been, I could have been scripting 6 months away. I could have been scripting 5 years away. It didn't really matter because I'm so much more of her all the time. Yeah, she has, she's done a few things. She has a few things that I don't have yet, but we're not that different anymore.
Mm-hmm. I love that. How does that compare, if you remember, to the first time that you did the scripting workshop?
I think the first time it was a lot of, how would I like to feel? Not how do I feel?
Mm-hmm.
Since I was just making that one short step this time, there wasn't a forcing of it.
Mm-hmm.
There was just a knowing of it. Before it was like, how would I feel? As opposed to, how do I feel?
Yes. Yeah. And so what I want to translate for listeners is what I think you're saying is that you could actually be in your future self and say, oh, how do I feel? Like you could be in the middle of it versus before it's a little bit of a stretch. And that's normal, by the way, for everyone who's listening. It's normal in the beginning for it to be a stretch, for you to have to think about it. Like, okay, well, this is what's happening. How do I feel in that moment? What's this doing? What's that doing? What does it look like, right? But I think you've also built up the muscles and the skill set to be able to step in and look around versus think about, well, what does it look like?
Exactly. This was my 4th time through it. So there's a very much of an ease in all the things that we were doing. So it wasn't like the first time was always sort of what's going to happen next? How am I going to feel next? What's changing? What's different? Whereas with this one, it was just, I know how I feel. I know, let me put her in a different space. Let me see. And we looked at a couple of different scenarios this time than before. So it was a different place to be, but it was way more comfortable.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And that's how the process works, right? The more you script, the more you script, step into her script, step into script. And then it becomes this, oh, okay, cool. I'm actually just looking around at a different part of her life.
Yeah.
which I love. And I also love the evolution from what you want in a business that's happened over the last
Oh,
2.5
yeah.
years, right? It used to
It's,
have to be so big, and I feel like it was so much on you in the past.
yeah.
Even what you wanted in the future was big and on you in the past, and it's shifted. It's still
Yeah.
big, but in a different way.
Hmm.
Yeah. You want to talk more about that?
So there was always a part of me that wanted to create a physical space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the problem was I didn't really want to run it.
Yeah, I get
I
that.
wanted it. I wanted it, but I'm not an innkeeper. I'm not that kind of a hostess.
Mm-hmm.
So creating that space was always, well, who's making sure that the linens get changed, and who's making sure that the food gets made, and who's do I have what do I have to do to make that happen? Whereas I've let that part go, and I know that I can create the feelings and the experiences in the women that I work with in spaces that are smaller, more intimate,
Mm-hmm.
or not so much mine. They're
Right.
not necessarily spaces I create, but spaces I use.
Yeah. I'm curious on this because I think this is common, right? Because I feel like almost everybody who's a coach wants a retreat center at some point. They need to have this big space and all this thing. And my theory is that it's it's a little bit about not trusting ourselves yet to be able to, like, when you want that, it's like, oh, okay, if I have this big amazing place with all these people and all this thing, that sort of, for lack of a better way to say it, does the work, right? But I think as you've grown into yourself and you've owned who you are as the menopause guru, you know, wherever you take yourself, whatever space, that's where the magic is.
Yeah, yeah. The magic is in knowing um, knowing what women need and want at
Mm-hmm.
this time of their lives, so that they can move beyond all those symptoms and all those things that are getting in the way of who they want to be, and step forward. So my ability to do that and work with women and help them both on the physical side and then stepping forward into their own lives is so much more what I need to be doing. And honestly, it's enough for any one person.
Right. And I think you see that now, but in the past, and I don't really pre-approve this question, I'm asking anyway. I think it might not have felt like I don't know enough, or I don't have enough to offer. I'm not sure if I have enough to offer. So it was really about offering this big, amazing, beautiful space versus what you bring to just the table.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I know now, um, and it's fascinating because, and I know we were going to talk about this, but I'm preparing for my first retreat right now, and I'm doing it here, and I'm doing it for my one client who is ready to have this experience. I'm doing it here in Louisiana, so we're using my own personal space that I've created here, and we're using the city of New Orleans.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, okay,
Amazing.
so I live in New Orleans, so it's kind of neat. But we're also using the whole of nature in on the North Shore, and being able to go out and use some of those adventure kinds of things that I love to take women on, because they change our perspective of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited to be sort of integrating all of these things that I want her to experience, and being able to do that without having to buy a piece of property and build a center and all of that stuff. I can do it right here,
Yeah.
right now.
How does that feel?
It feels amazing because it's what I want to do. And I'm looking at the growth in this particular client of mine, and she's grown so much, and she's And I watch, the coaches always tell you that the people who come to you will be the people who need to learn what you've learned. And I'm watching her learn to trust that when something doesn't go the way she's imagined it, that it's because something better is coming along, and to step back and be the person who can love herself through this amazing time that she's going through. So it's really cool. And it's like, okay, so now how do I structure this two-day experience that we're going to have together, and give her those experiences that can take her to the next level.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And I do want to kind of wrap back around to our original, the retreat. You had to script that in the beginning in a center to really be able to step into that space and see like, oh, I can serve that. And I know, this is more for listeners about like how that was important. It wasn't that we missed a step. It's that's the process. Like you have to show yourself. I have to show you like, okay, yeah, you could do this, give you that experience, and you get to decide what you want to take from that experience and actually create. And what that also did is it paved the way for what's going to happen in this retreat. It really is going to make you show up even more amazing just because you've already done it in your head a number of times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And scripting that retreat, and I think I scripted that retreat for over a year.
It was a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was there and interacting with women. And then we looked at retreats, destination retreats, which I'd still love to do them, because I'd love to take women into some of these amazing places that I've been. But as we scripted the retreats, what I knew was it really was about the transformation that my clients have, not just this amazing experience, but this transformation of themselves into a person who's got the rest of their lives to do amazing things.
Mm-hmm. And I think as every time you did a new retreat, even though of course it would always be in a beautiful place and a beautiful experience, what you got was you scripted more deeply was that it was you who was coming to, like, it was about you. It was what you had to offer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was always there.
Right. You're always there. And that eventually sinks into our brain. Like, I'm the person, I think you knew this on a very surface level, like I'm the person to bring about change, but it sinks inside us as we experience that over and over again. Oh yeah, I'm the one here. Like I'm always here. This is what shifts and drives the change.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm excited to hear about your first retreat afterwards. So I want to know, how do you know when your future self shows up?
She smiles a lot more than I do.
I love that hint. Yes.
I think when she comes in, she's assured, she's self-assured. She knows that she has whatever it takes to handle this situation. And even if she doesn't, she's got, she knows where she can go for help. She knows how she can reach out for someone to say, fix something or do something or remind her of somebody. And sometimes it's just a matter of seeing the right quote or hearing the right words or simply somebody smiling back. So I think just she is so much more confident that she has the tools to deal with the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you feel yourself I'm assuming, I know because we talked a little bit about this and we talk a lot, you can feel the difference now, where I don't think you could feel it in the very beginning stages. It was like, oh yeah, my future self would do this. I'm like, I don't know.
No, not so much.
But you couldn't feel it, right? You were thinking it. But now I feel like when she's not showing up and when you have to call on her and when you have to keep calling on her, right?
Well, when we did, I don't know if I'm telling secrets here,
No.
but part of the scripting workshop is to get on a call as your future self and to do an interview. And as we did that interview, there was a point at which I started to say something, and then interestingly enough, the sound cut out at that very moment, and you said, would you tell me that again? And I said, no, I don't think so. Because I knew it wasn't my future self who had answered that question. Yeah. And so I knew that I needed to change. I was telling a story that just wasn't true. It wasn't true at all for her. So I simply stopped and re-answered the question as my future self. And it was really kind of funny because I think that was about the only moment at which I'd actually stepped out of being her and started to answer from who I still am sometimes.
Yeah. I love that. And so you've been able to start to feel it. And I know you felt it in that moment. And I thought it was perfect timing. Is the only time the audio cut out all day. Was
so funny.
It was perfect because it was like, oh, well, I knew by the first couple words. And so that was perfect and amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember what the question was or what my response was, but I just knew it was like, nope, I'm telling a story here that it just isn't true.
Yeah, I love it. So I always say, you want to shift things in your physical space to let your brain know, like, we are changing. I am becoming more of this person. And so you have changed your office. If anyone's watching on video, they can see how beautiful it is. How did changing your office to represent your future self shift things?
So we've been talking about this change for 7, 8 months, something like that. When I started using this space, I put up some of the books, and I was really, I was like, oh, this is good. I like being in here. I bought a desk that fits the space nicely. And I thought, oh, this is really good. And every time I'd see myself on it, I'd look at my white hair against the white wall, and I'm thinking, I'm just disappearing back into this wall. And so I said to you, what color should I paint it? What color do you think? Do you have anybody who can help me figure this out? Because I'm not really that good at color. It's just one of those things. And for some reason, I'd ask you every once in a while, and you'd say, oh, shoot, I forgot to ask. And so you were coming to New Orleans a couple of weeks ago, and you said, wouldn't it be fun to paint the wall? Yes. And so you mentioned a color, and I wasn't real sure about it. And so we decided on that first morning that we'd go over and look at paint chips and bring stuff home and take a look. And you pulled one out, I think, and I said, oh, I love that. That is fabulous. And it was this berry wine color and the off-white cream that goes underneath. And I was just in love with it. And you said, I didn't think that would be something that you would pick. And I'm like, that is so rich looking and so it's just way, way, way more. We had talked about a couple of fairly frivolous colors, hot pink for one. Yeah. And there are those moments in my life where hot pink and glitter are part of my life. But this was just like, this is what my clients need to see, need to know. And that is that aging is not just about getting old. It's about becoming more graceful, more sophisticated, more in tune with who you are. That I wanted this space to really represent that. And so now I've cleaned it up, although this morning it's like got the remnants of fixing my computer, but I put in new curtains on that are really, really beautiful, and opened it up so they're now open all the time. And I'm looking out into my gorgeous yard all the time. Um, and it's just really got all of this feeling that I really wanted for my clients and I really wanted for myself. So I feel comfortable and well capable. I guess
Mm-hmm.
capable is the word. I feel competent and capable and ready to go when I'm in this room now.
Yeah. And it makes sense because it represents her, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And it was almost as soon as we started painting the wall, you were like, I got to get curtains, right? And that's what happens when we start changing. So often I think people get stuck, and this might have even happened to you, is like, well, I have to do the whole room. And I'm like, let's just get what's behind you painted, right? Like, let's take care of that, because nobody sees anything else on camera, right?
Right.
But once you do that, once you start, it's sort of a domino effect. And it wasn't hard. It was like, oh, I feel like I went to the bathroom or something and came out. You're like, order curtains. Or maybe I had a phone call and it was like, oh, curtains are ordered. They'll be here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Yeah.
And yet I still haven't, there's still a lot to paint in here. And I'm like, well, okay. But I have another project going on. You and I've talked about the fact that I have this other huge project going on, and it needs to get done. So I'm kind of balancing and figuring out, one's outdoor, one's indoor. And this time of year, it rains a lot. So I can work on the inside stuff when it's raining, but it's really been a sense of, yes, this should be clear and clean and ready for my clients at all times. So it really is. Yeah, I'm still got a few things to do, but I'm ready.
I love that statement. I'm ready. What does that mean?
I have everything I need and they need to do the work they need to do. And if I don't have the right sentence or the right herb or essential oil for the specific thing that we're doing that day, it's easy to find. I've got all the resources at my fingertips. They're there. I even put a new bookshelf into this room where I've got the stuff I need to be able to grab quickly in order to help my clients. And so I'm ready. I'm totally ready to serve the people that I need to serve.
That's amazing. Do you feel like that's the first time you've said that with so much certainty in your journey?
I think with that much certainty. I always knew that I have the knowledge. That's what I do.
Right.
I learn stuff.
Yeah.
But it's always been this struggle to feel, the imposter syndrome versus the knowing that I am enough for them. And she's always enough. So if I'm not enough, that's a real indicator that I'm not her at the moment.
Yes.
Going back to the previous question.
Right. Going back to your future self. And you know how to step back into her, right? You know how to now to make that shift on a dime.
Go to the car wash.
Yeah. Right. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. I love it.
I took Cassie through the car wash with me so she could see how I get when I go through the car wash, which is just like, hey, this is the car wash.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I've been looking for the same opportunity. I'm going to find it because I love it. It's so awesome.
Yeah. The spa with the nail subscription, that would be another one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love it. So fantastic. And it's so fun to see and hear you stepping into her. And it has been a journey, and it's been and it'll continue, right? This isn't the right. This isn't.
Oh yeah, I
fall
out of her. I fall out of her occasionally.
Yeah, as everyone does.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love hearing it. I will put the caveat. I don't paint everyone's offices, but when that's what your clients need and you know that's what they need, it's what you do.
Well, it would have gotten painted without you, but it was a lot more fun with you
It
here.
was a lot more fun, right? And I know eventually it would have gotten done, but it was so much more fun to do it together and because I knew the even bigger shift that would come following it.
Yeah.
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 I love it. So I want to kind of wrap up today's interview talking about scripting and the amygdala, because it was so funny. And which I love actually is because 2 weeks ago was when all this happened. I think it was 2 weeks ago. And even as I hear you today, like the reason we had this conversation was because it was like, well, I'm feeling the fear of moving forward because the last time I made when you paid yourself, which we talked about in the last interview, it sort of had these ramifications of stalling a little bit, I'll just say. And it
Yeah.
was like, I'm a little bit afraid to take this next step or that next step because I don't want to get caught in that again. And I said, well, you script because that's when scripting, make sure that we're committed to that because that takes you there before and it reduces the fear. And what you said was,
oh my God, we're joining the amygdala. And so, I mean, this comes from my own work and my own penchant for learning science. And for me, it's, I was like, oh, well, it's our amygdala that keeps us from, what happens is that the amygdala is very low in the brain. So when it gets these signals, it stops the processing. So you just don't even go there. You go, you hit the amygdala says, okay, fight, flight, run, freeze, whatever you're going to do, but you're not going to think about it. And so I always knew that the amygdala reacts to anything that's unknown. Mm-hmm. And it's not, I mean, it could be good. It could be cotton candy at the fair. And if it's unknown, it's going to say, that's like little wormy things or something. And it says, no cotton candy. No, we're afraid of that. We're afraid of that. And so the amygdala doesn't react to things it knows, even if they're bad things.
Right.
This is the weird thing is like, this is why people are afraid to move out of a bad situation into an unknown situation because even the bad situation is less scary than moving forward. Mm-hmm. So knowing that for me, it was like this moment of, oh, I knew that you scripted so you knew what it was like, but not because that shut your amygdala down.
And it's funny because I'm thinking about your I might have even said that in your strategy session. I didn't use the word amygdala. I know that for sure. What I am known to say is people say, well, I'm afraid of success. And I'll say, no, you're afraid of the unknown.
Which is what we all are.
Yeah.
We're all afraid of the unknown. And so it was funny that I didn't put it into that terms for so long. Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking, oh, you're just doing this because it keeps your mind on it. It focuses, blah, blah, blah. I was always up in the for those of you who like science, prefrontal cortex. Mm-hmm. I was always up in that forebrain area that actually thinks about this stuff. And I wasn't associating it with this, oh, all you have to do is shut off the amygdala and you're able to move forward. Mm-hmm. So actually, I'm going to tell you something you don't even know. Mm-hmm. For the past 2 weeks, I have gotten $1,500 showing up in my PayPal account, which has to be returned. But it comes with the note, regular paycheck.
I love it. I love it.
And it's just like, oh, I get get money every week.
Look at you. All on your
it
own,
was
you did
like-
that.
And it's just like, oh, okay. I can't use it for anything, but I get to
Good
do it.
job.
Yeah.
I love it. I love so much about that you did it on your own. Like that wasn't, that was a inspired action. Like I get where it came from. Like, let me practice this, right? So it doesn't feel
Well,
like
no,
that.
I mean, it's not my money.
Oh, I thought you'd set this up as a regular paycheck. Oh,
It showed up, and that's what it says. It said,
that's amazing.
I'll tell you the backstory later, but this, I just manifested money showing up in my account.
I love it. And
It's real money.
Practice. It's real money, and it's great practice for your future self, right?
Yeah.
I love that. That's amazing. I had a similar thing happen when I had a bunch of people join my list. That was in the very early days. I think right after I quit my job. It was all spam, and I knew it was, but I just responded to everyone. Thank you for joining my list. Thank you for joining my list. I'm like, I'm going to practice this.
Exactly.
The universe gave me the gift of practicing my future self, and that's what happened.
Yeah. And so I just feel like right now that's what should be coming into my account every week. That's not scary at all.
Yay, that's awesome. So amazing. I love it. And I think as I was listening to you say that, I will say this. It occurred to me that it was because I said, well, you just weren't ready to hear about the amygdala, like you weren't ready to put it together. And I think that was true. That needed to fire to keep you safe for a while until we did all this other work. So it's like, oh, now I can let go. Now I can.
I'm going to say something for your listeners.
Yeah.
I am the world's most stubborn person. Most people don't take 2.5 years to learn this. If you're thinking, oh my God, she's been working with Cassie for 2.5 years and she's finally getting it. Yeah, no. You can do this a whole lot faster if you just remember one simple thing. You're hiring that person. Listen to her.
That's true. And trust the process. But I think that that's exactly what you needed. And you're right. You can do it faster. Everybody listening, you can absolutely do it faster. And it's still, I think I'm going to ask you this question. Looking back, does it matter at this moment how long it took?
No.
Does it even feel like that long anymore?
Sometimes it feels like longer, and sometimes it feels like it was last week.
Yeah. And that's what I love. And I'm going to remember to ask you that question 6 months from now, because when we get there, all the things that we had, and this is the thing I wanted to bring is that we had to go through we set that the first workshop. We put the pin in your future self. We put that destination, but there was all these things that had to get cleared along the way. And so all the resistance, the learning, all of that was so that you could shift and release into your future self. And so it was all because we put that pin that all this stuff came up, right? It was because we said, okay, this is where we're going. I'm going to be the woman who can lead women on the woman you are right now, who is going to lead a woman on a retreat and have an amazing experience. Because we set that woman up, all that other stuff had to happen in order to get you there.
It had to go, I had to deal with, and I don't want to say that I had to fix it or anything else. I just had to know how to release it, how to integrate it. There's a lot in my background, and so letting go of those stories wasn't just letting go of those stories, but it was also, how does that story serve me now?
Yeah.
And interesting things have come up from that.
Yes. Yeah. And it was being able to, process and heal those stories, because those were some of the things you had to get through to become the woman I'm looking at on the screen in front of me today that's doing this interview, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I don't think you could have uncovered all of those things. This might be a whole other interview, but I don't think you could have uncovered all those things without the process of putting your future self and then moving towards her. I don't think you could have made a list of like, this is what I need to change or fix or move through or let go. Or
no, I don't think I mean, I knew some of it,
mm-hmm.
but, and certainly, you know, part of this whole thing goes back to, you know, there's a lot going on in the world today that is there just to make me heal. I'm laughing about that, but you know, there's things coming out that are really making a difference in how I am approaching things over and over and over again. But I think sooner or later I would have been dealing with these same issues, no matter what was the trigger or the catalyst for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, super fun. I love it. Any advice you want to give anyone as we say wrap up for today?
I think my advice is that if you let it, coaching works. Whether it's around your health or around your the changes that are happening to you because of aging and menopause, or your money mindset, or your business, we work better when somebody else helps us through it.
Mm-hmm. I love
So
that.
I'm going to say today, because I've been thinking about this one a lot. I had a long drive across the causeway yesterday, and I was thinking about coaching and how, having just gotten out of the weekend in football and watching Nick Saban and Coach O of the LSU Tigers, and just seeing the difference in the way coaches work and handle the people they work with, and realizing that finding the right coach for you, I've had other coaches before, but finding the right coach is what makes it all work.
Yes. I love that. I love you for sharing that. And on that note, make sure to tell people where they can connect with you.
You can connect with me at menopause.guru or Menopause Guru on Facebook, or you can email me at Jeanne, which is JEANNE, at menopause.guru.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeanne. And I am looking forward to your next interview because I know there's going to be so much more awesomeness.
Thank you for joining us on the More Money Show. To learn how to attract more money into your life, go to your favorite book retailer and order Cassie's book, Manifest $10,000.